And then it struck me like a lead balloon. I mean, just really knocked me like a sledgehammer. And it was sort of that sick feeling I got in my stomach. And other lawyers, I think maybe some of them have had this, where you realize that for a long time you had bought into a paradigm that was of your own making. And that's what it was for me, is to sit there and say, wait a minute, the whole paradigm is wrong. Argue me up or down is wrong. The whole idea of $1 million shouldn't be even part of the dialogue. And and who decided this and who accepted it? And the answer to the second question was me. I accepted it. I never challenged it. And so that's the beginning of what I think has to be talked about. Is if I ask you, Michael, or anybody who might be listening to this, what's the value of a death case? What's the value of a broken arm case? I don't care if you handle, quote, big cases or, quote, small cases. Who said that's the value? And why do they get to say it? And have you even taken the time to challenge it for yourself? And I don't mean that to be critical. I started by showing you mine and saying I didn't for a long time. And so step number one needs to be to challenge your own paradigm. Part of it also is dealing with your fear, because when I was growing up, also what I was told is if I overreach, I'll get my whole arm cut off and my whole credibility will be gone. And I think that's BS. I think that feeds the what's true is if you don't believe your number and you go in and try to sell a number, and you know what I mean by that, selling something that you don't believe in, you will get cut. But that's not the same as, quote, over asking, because the other truth is that the jury has no idea what the value of a case is. They know a lot less than you do. They know a lot less than insurance companies do. They don't know anything about the value. So it's all, at the end of the day, is a battle of credibility and a battle of what do you believe your case is worth? And how much do you believe that? And how credible are you in asking for it? Start to ask yourself, what's the foundation for any of this? And it really comes back to some things that have nothing to do with the case. I think it has to do with your relationship with money. And if you're like me, it's not easy to ask for money. I don't like asking for it for a fundraiser, and I don't like asking for it in front of a jury. I don't like asking. And, if I examine my world and I look back, and I was brought up with certain money messages. I was brought up that you don't talk about money, that it's kind of rude to talk about money, and that, all those kind of things. And maybe you can relate to what I'm saying. What was it like? How would your parents talk to you about money, or would they? How would they talk to each other about money? And, what you do with money and what the value of money is. And I think that those things, it's worth taking time. So you asked me what I did. I started to look at these things for the very first time. I stopped listening to the voice that said the case is worth X. And I said, how do we know what it's worth? And I'm still on the journey, so I'm not done looking at it. What would I think the value is if what happened to the person I love most in the world? And if it's worth that for my loved one, then shouldn't it be worth that for the client? Why should it be different? Whatever you've got to do to make it real, you've got to do to make it real. But the person who needs convincing is you. And stop thinking, I got to go convince the jury. How about first and foremost convince you and be honest? I have to remind myself, I got to be honest with myself. How do I really feel? I want to feel great, but do I feel great? And what do I want to know now? And bring that natural curiosity and skepticism to the table. And don't feel bad about it. You're channeling the jurors. Yeah. You may as well get it now, right? Part of that journey is still translating these things into dollars and cents and practicing getting in front of people and saying the words. Can you say billion with a B? What does it feel like to say 100 million? And to have somebody look back at you and say, what? 100 million, and not just cower into a corner as soon as, I didn't mean 100 million, I meant a million. Yeah. to feel all of that emotion and to feel all of what it feels like to ask. It's no shame in practicing asking. When someone says, how do you know what the number should be? I don't. The number has to find me, and I have to find the number, and I have to go back and forth, and I have to practice saying it. And I think it should be this. And I get up and I start to say it, and I go, sometimes I go, wow, that's just too much. That's not right. And other times I go, wait a minute. It's much more than that. If this is real, then it's much more than that. And then you start and you practice it and you practice it. We use focus groups all the time to look for technical, things. Well, how about using them to just be a practice board for you to ask for money, see what it feels like, and then hear the feedback? It's tremendous. And it's a necessary and woefully inadequately practiced skill set. I guess I'm issuing 2 challenges today. One is take a sledgehammer to your limiting beliefs on what a case might be worth, and at least examine your paradigm there. If you get all the way to the end of your examination and you still feel comfortable with where it is, then fine. But my request is that you at least go challenge why. If you ask yourself, what's the value of X or Y or Z? And then the important question is why? Why, and who's telling you that? Whose voice is in there that you're hearing saying that's the right value? And challenge it. That's the first. And the second would be, we all have a duty. We're all so blessed to be in this field that we have this license to make a difference in the world. And I believe that it's our duty to do that. Not only for our clients or our law firms, but also generally for the good of humanity. And in our area, if you're a PI lawyer, it's about you're already looking for what systemically is wrong that brought about your damages. At least you should be looking for that. So once you've identified that, what are some things that can be done to address the systemic problem? And can you get an agreement as part of settlement to do that? That's it. That's the challenge.